Hello, everyone. We are the three Black Pratt grads. I am Mark Skinner. I'm here with Ken Nelson and Greg Cleghorn. And we all went to Pratt Institute many years ago. And each week we talk about, or actually every couple of days, we talk about photography. And we are talking today about what Leica means to us. Now, Leica, for everyone, means something different. I mean, most people will tell you, oh, they have a favorite photographer that they like, oh, they love the equipment. But what I really wanted to talk about was what we think about it, because we had seen Leica start as, not start, but we saw it when we started in photography. It was the best camera that you were going to use if you were a war correspondent or a traveling journalist, something that was compact and something that didn't intimidate people. And it became legendary because it was easy to fix and the optics were fantastic. And everyone who was great tended to use one. So now here we are, 30 years after we've started, sometimes 40 years after we started, depending on which one of us you're talking to. And you're going to find that Leica has changed. And it seems like there's a lot more emphasis on the equipment than on what the images give you, other than sharpness. And before, you would used to see all these great photographs, and you would just hear, oh, by the way, this person takes Leica. Now, if you pop up the first image, what I wanted to say was the interesting thing about Leica is that it was created, the one as we know it today was basically a rangefinder, right? That one actually should be the other photo. Did I say this one first? Okay.
You
Anyway,
said that one first, yeah.
this one first. That one. Okay. So this is like I said, there's a great uh, number of photographers who used it for street photography by the time they got to the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. But the machine was created as we know it basically in 1913 by a guy named Oscar Barnack, right? Oscar Barnack.
Yeah.
And this is just Times Square. It's sort of photographed from the waist. You can see it's during the pandemic. There's a guy who's out there working. I'm sure he's got bills to pay or whatever, but he's out there working, and the bus is behind him. He's selling tickets to go on tours, and people are trying to resume a normal life. This is uh, mid, near the end of the summer in 2021. If you go to the next photo, but it's a when you do street photography, there's quite a bit of an adrenaline rush. And I want to talk about that when you guys show your pics. Uh, but the
No, no, explain that now.
well,
Adrenaline rush. Wait, what?
Oscar Barnock, right, created this camera specifically to go hiking, right? Now this is the 86th Street Traverse in Central Park, and what's really interesting to me about it is that it is a perfect camera for hiking if you want to get great photographs. I mean, the images are sharp, and it is just a wonderful way to have a camera with you that has all the features of a full-size camera that you would use in a studio or for a formal portrait or anything that required a tripod. But you can do everything with Leica cameras. I'll talk about those in a second. And if you quickly go back to the other one, when I said there was an adrenaline rush, it's really because street photography has this thing where the Leica is known for being compact. Now this one, right, and this is the way Versailles used to photograph, right? He would just sort of flip his camera out like that. He would hide it and flip it out. Bresson, excuse me. And he would take photographs on the street where people didn't see him. Now I'm not that covert. I might just had it around my neck. But my point is that you could walk around and do all these great street photographs where people didn't see you. You can go forward to the third photo. I'm not
Hmm.
completely sure. But what I wanted to say is that what's great about the Leica systems is that right now it's dominated by the M, right? The M is the rangefinder and the wonderful cameras. The camera I just had on me was a compact, which is really good because it has a leaf shutter and it's a compact. It's a Deluxe 7, and you don't really have as much resolution as some of the bigger cameras, but it's fine for 99% of what you do. It's very versatile. It's a great camera for learning photography. And in this I had a studio assignment, and I thought because we were in a studio, we were going to be doing individual portraits. And while we were there was an idea to do a group portrait. So I had this camera as my backup camera. And so what I was able to do was use the Deluxe 7 wide angle in this small space. You can see it's a very tight space to get all the participants of this particular photo session together in this one photo. These are all pageant winners for the Starlight Galaxy pageant system. This isn't all the winners, but this is some of them. There's Starlight Royalty, Starlight Dynasty, Starlight Galaxy. There are three different groups for the Starlight Galaxy pageant system. But what I wanted to show you is it's really easy to use the wide angle on that particular camera because it has it built in. It's a sort of a small zoom to get everyone in. So it's very versatile. And what Leica really means to me is the history of photography, the history of all the people who made these other great photos, particularly street photographers and war people like W. Eugene Smith and we mentioned Bresson also. And then also for me, my dad, who was a photographer, amateur photographer when he was younger, I didn't realize this, but he said to me over and over the years, "Oh, I had a Leica. I had a Leica." And I was a very big Nikon fan. So when he passed away, I was very lucky. He left me a little bit of money. And so one of the things I did was I bought the least expensive Leica I could find just so I could have that sort of piece of him. And now I understand what it is that he really liked about it because it's compact, it's versatile, it does most of what you need to do. Now, Greg, you wanted me to talk about and I'll do this really quick, the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I've never heard of you. I've never heard of you being excited about photography. It's interesting.
I'm sorry, was that?
Go ahead. Adrenaline
No,
rush.
what I was going to say was, I'm not really much of a street photographer anymore. I did a lot of that when I was in school, but primarily I did a lot of, fashion stuff when I was in school and kind of migrated away from street photography.
Too
And
close.
And one of the things that's really interesting is, kind of doing some sort of research for myself about this and using the camera that I bought with my dad's money. I figured, well, let me get back into street photography, particularly here in the pandemic when you really can't get that close to anybody anyway. I took all these photographs and I found that it was a bit of an adrenaline rush for two reasons. One, I'm not accustomed to running around on the streets taking pictures of people, strangers anymore. That's one reason why it was like, and then the second part is the red dot. It's not like before where people kind of didn't know what it was. Now everyone knows what it is. So it's basically you've pulled out a, Lamborghini to take to go to Home Depot. And people are kind of like, hey, look at that. What's that? So it's weird because there's more attention now on you as a photographer. And it's kind of a little harder than it was when I started with the Nikon film cameras. And that is really all I had to say. For me, it's compactness, history, and a lot of fun. And one thing I will say, the weird thing about Leica, I shouldn't say weird thing, the really wild thing about Leica is that in the 1940s during World War II, Ernst Leitz made a point to save the Jewish German people by putting them in sales positions all over the world. In a weird way, that was like one of the first, I could say it this way, it was like a woke company in Nazi Germany. They understood the people they were being oppressed. They took their people and took, not their people meaning Jewish people, but their people meaning German people who were being oppressed, and found a means for them to escape death. And I think that's really kind of cool. And I personally believe that part of that has to do with, that's part of why they succeeded. They chose a humanitarian thing to do at a time when it was very, very risky for themselves to do it. And so there you go. Oh, last thing. Weird part is they might be one of the only manufacturers who still make a rangefinder, a mirrorless camera, and a mirrored DSLR. Wild. Anyway, I may have gone over time. I'm sure I have. I apologize to you guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's go to
I'll
Greg.
make up for it. The topic. Thanks for the topic. What do you think of Leica? Leica, for me, it's always been, the old masters of street photography and, photojournalism and, war correspondence. But the Nikons were because they were tanks, almost indestructible. I've dropped my dad's Nikon F several times. To my shock, and then noticed that it just had like a scratch on it. That was that was comforting. But the Leica, I mean, didn't want to drop it. It was disarming. You pull out a Nikon, and everybody's like, "Ooh, fancy camera." You know, you pull out a Leica, you know, and they're like, they're questioning your sanity because it kind of looks like a toy. But the plus side, you know, like you said, Steiglitz and you know, Bresson, my favorite. Hey! Um, you know, they could get out and shoot stuff, get super sharp images, and one of the coolest features for me about the Leica was that it was super quiet. You know, you could snap like a roll of pictures, and nobody would know that you even took one. You know, whereas you got a big SLR, that's like clack clack. Yeah, everybody in the room turns around. But yeah, it was a not a niche camera, but it was a camera for those who know. You know, those who know not know Leica. You know, and the lenses were super sharp. It's Zeiss lenses on those mostly, if I'm not mistaken.
Leica lenses. The Zeiss lenses were Hasselblad.
Okay, then yeah, Leica's lenses were super sharp. I don't know where Zeiss popped in my head. I'm not sure. Anyway,
Lights. You're thinking of lights lenses.
okay, thank you.
And you are
And
correct. Extraordinarily sharp. Still to this day, they're incredibly good.
uh and you know, all that you can do with it, you know, it's taken on a in you know current current shooters, you know, now have learned and grasped and embraced the Leicas and are doing amazing work with it. You know, it's great. A couple others, oh my gosh, there's a couple other companies that are doing mirrorless cameras now, and Sony has a mirrorless camera. And cameras, just there's just something about, you know, like Mark was saying, there's something clandestine about, you know, street photography. But to make it even more fun is when you're working with a camera that's like totally, you know, in stealth mode and so super quiet that you can, you know, get the shot that you want if you can, you know, get yourself out of the mode that, like, you know, I'm invisible. They can't hear me. No, you're not. You know, people can still see you, but you don't stalk them, but you know, you're like a hunter basically. You know, when you're out there looking for big game, you can catch it with a Leica. And I applaud Ken for the work he's doing with his Leica out there. And sometimes it's like the people are like oblivious, which is such a cool capture when you can get it. But then other times, you know, just as effective is when they do notice you, and they kind of give you that. Is that a real camera? What is that? They give you kind of that half cocked look, and that works also. You know, not to mention the you know, when folks are just full on. Yeah, you're taking my picture. All right, I'm gonna move for you. But yeah, Leica, you know, besides its you know, legendary status from days of yore in photography world and the great photographers that have used it, but still a great camera, great platform, great support, and man, I'd just say get out there. If you haven't used one, you know, rent one, or if you know somebody that's willing to let you, you know, take it out for a day and give it a test drive, highly recommend it. See the results and decide for yourself. It's just another tool in the box. That's all I got. I was gonna show some images of Stieglitz and, you know, other street photographers that use the like us, but um, those are just my thoughts on it, and that's it. Just sweeping to the point to the brief. That's it for me.
Okay, doke. So I'll take it from there.
Yep.
All yours, Mr. N.
Okay, so I'll start with saying Masusha.
Hey, God bless you.
Masusha.
God bless you.
Okay.
Okay.
Masusha is German for rangefinder. And the rangefinder is the Leica M. And the M in Leica M stands for Masusha in German, which translates, of course, to in English to rangefinder. So just want to make that notation. And then what I want to do is also switch to what Leica means to me. What does Leica mean to me? precision, craftsmanship and design and engineering,
Oh my
pricey,
God, really?
revered legacy, the origins of 35 millimeter photography, legendary optics from a microscope company. So that's where it's coming from, and that's what I think. So what I wanted to basically, I guess, get across is um, the mystery of Leica has haunted me since about 1978, 1979. Um, and just the mystery that I didn't really know much about it. And I really never researched much about it, but just lived off what everyone was telling me, right? Instead of finding out for myself. And the only thing I knew for sure about it, like it was that it was pricey and I couldn't afford it. And that being that meant that it was most likely a very good camera based on price. With that, years later, I would come up on my own and begin to photograph with the Leica. And so I'm just going to show you three images that, to me, exemplify what I've been photographing, and they sort of exemplify me what I've attained in terms of photographing with the Leica. This doesn't mean that all images look the same, although there have been talk that there is a Leica look, and I would think that maybe this comes close to it. But if it does, it does. It doesn't, it doesn't. You know, for you, your mileage may vary. Mines tend to think that it does. So, and
What
these
is
are
the
just
Leica look?
basically it has to do with the out of focus area and how it renders versus other lenses. And of course, that's going to be to a well-educated eye. But I mean, if I didn't tell you this was a Leica shot with a Leica lens, you wouldn't be able to tell me it was or was not. So that's the thing.
Would be able to tell that there's something different about the way the lens is writing the information to the sensor.
Yeah, or when you're shooting film, now it renders on film, right? So kind of
It's a
interesting.
nice. It's a nice. I like the softness of the shallow depth of field, where it's not just totally blurred out.
Right.
You can. There's a lot of definition as you go back in space, but um, I don't know. I like it. Is that an f-stop that you prefer, or the lens just does that on its own?
No, and one of the mysteries of Leica is not mystery. One of the tenets of Leica is that if you're going to use a Leica and you're going to use a Leica lens, you really sort of probably want to photograph it at its widest f-stop, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
so that you can effectively use that Leica look more effectively. Again, your mileage may vary. You may not want to do this, but that's up to you.
Okay.
Second shot I'll speak to is this one, which sort of exemplifies again that sort of look. Again, working the out of focusness of photographs as much as you can to sort of make the image pop. Hopefully it does pop, and hopefully it grabs you and grabs your attention and make you say, "What's this all about?" And the third image having to do with basically color and time and moment. And so capturing a moment uh, is uh, is not difficult with any camera. It just becomes mentally nice when you do it with a Leica. Now and again, so going back really quick, and I won't belabor this. The rangefinder system is something that I've been using since 1999, and I haven't really used any other type of system, which is the single lens reflex or anything else.
Or
Uh,
even or the mirror system, which is
or the
kind
mirror system, right. Now, I've owned a Nikon and I used it up until then, but since then, I've only used rangefinder cameras. Then the main reason why I've only used them is because not, and I'll switch to stop sharing. I'll tell you why I've begun to use rangefinder camera. One, the first rangefinder camera I picked up cheap, but it weighed a ton, but it was a medium format camera. It was a Coney Omega. It weighed about 7 pounds and it was 120. And the main reason why I adopted to that is because it doesn't photograph 36 exposures. You had to do 10 and be done, right? And that was the main reason why I switched over. And then after that, I picked up a lighter one, which was another rangefinder camera, which is the one I've been photographing since '99. And then switching over to digital over the past 5 years, I switched over to the Leica Q and then the Leica M replaced that. And so again, rangefinder systems appeal to me more. They're lighter, quieter. That's my spiel for that.
Right,
That's
they're lighter,
that's
they're
what
quiet.
Leica means to me.
And when you look through the viewfinder, right? I know sometimes you don't, but when you do, you never lose sight of your subject. There's no flicker because you're seeing through the viewfinder what's going on.
Yeah, and actually a little bit extra on the left and right and top and bottom.
With the Leica, though, I was going to ask about that. They've adjusted for the shift of what you see to actually what the lens sees.
Yeah,
So,
it's never 100%. It's close to about 95% if you're good. And what happens is the closer you focus, the more parallax correction you need, which is meaning that you're not in for single lens reflex. You see what you get in the camera. For a rangefinder camera, the lens is taking the picture, but you're looking through a separate viewfinder, and you're not seeing what the lens is seeing. You're seeing slightly offset. And what happens is they merge together at some point in space, and so it changes between the camera distance and the distance of whoever or whatever you're focusing on.
okay, yeah, that was my only thing, because I tried a rangefinder before, and it was slightly annoying to me because I used to be kind of more precise in what I wanted in the frame, and then I'd shoot and it'd be slightly shifted. I'm like,
Yes.
but then, once you get the mindset of what you're shooting,
Yeah.
and how the camera operates, you can do
Right.
great
I
things.
think that's why some of the mirrorless cameras are so popular, because they kind of have the style of a rangefinder, but they operate a little bit more like the SLRs. I'm more of an SLR fan. If I could, I'd get an S3 in a heartbeat, but I can't do that. I like an S3, but I can't. So
Explain the S3. Don't
yeah, the S3 is like a medium format 64 megabit camera that has the option of using the Leica central shutter lenses that have the the shutter built into the lenses, or you can use the camera shutter that's built into the camera. Um, I think it's just a wonderful system. I know Mark Mann uses Leica S's. Some other people do. They're very, very competitive to Hasselblad, but they are SLRs dedicated with a mirror. And I since I kind of grew up, as they say, photographically with the mirror, like you were talking, I really do like using a mirrored system to see what I've gotten. I'm still not a fan of mirrorless cameras. There's something that I just don't like about them, but maybe that's where they are now, most cameras. So that's what I use.
Yep. We've gone a bit over our scheduled time, so I just want to make you guys aware of that and how you want to proceed from here.
All right,
good.
guys.
Okay, wrap it.
You're good. All right, here we go. All right. Well, thank you very much. We have been the 3 Black Pratt grads.
And we still are.
Yeah, we have been, and we shall continue to be. And like I said before, we talk about photography every couple of days. So keep checking Kenneth Nelson Photography for the posts on the YouTube channel and some other places. I'm sure they are. Ken, where else are these?
We're on YouTube. We're strictly on YouTube. Sometimes we provide links on our own Facebook feeds.
Okay.
But the videos are
Instagram.
So they reside only on Facebook, but if you see it, sometimes you'll see them on our Facebook feeds and other social media. Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm Mark Skinner. This is Kenneth Nelson. Greg Cleghorn.
Running out of gas, Mark. Come on, wind up that crank.
I'm going to say good.
Okay.
Good news.